Yeah, so I mean, as I said before, I'm a huge Chicago fan. I mean, I listen to their greatest hits almost like I could on a car trip I could listen to it all the way through and then through again. I mean just their stuff from the, like the 70s and whatever, just like was some of the most just like some of the best guitar. I mean, the drums, the freaking big band sound, as Kyle knows, and I don't know if JT knows, I'm a huge big band, like orchestra in music fan. Like it literally touches a part of my brain that like isn't working currently, as you can tell. But
H-
like
Hence,
finally
Electric Light
unlocks.
Orchestra.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Electric Light Orchestra. I mean, I love. I mean, it almost uh resuscitates some horrible pop music that they try to use that to kind of give it life. I kind of like it a little bit better because they're using some orchestration that requires talent and skill, like not just computers and iPads and all this kind of stuff that people are using on stage to make music with like an actual real organic sound. So as we said before, some of the original members, Robert Lamb, Lee Loughnane, I think his
Lock,
name is
yeah,
Loughnane, James Pankow, and Walter
oh,
Parazater.
yeah, Parasitor,
Yeah,
yep,
they were some of the original members, 1967 to, obviously one of them's not touring with them, but
yeah.
I tried to like keep an eye on those songs with their names to see if like they brought some of that magic. So as I said earlier, album starts really weak for me. Born this for this moment, if this is goodbye, Firecracker, really didn't care for those tracks. They were okay. If this is goodbye, actually, I had a lot of problems with this song, uh, organically, like musically, sounding wise. It didn't have an organic. It had a beat in the background, which was very strange to me. Almost sounded like R&B, but like today's like trying to use some of those beats, and it really sounded out of place. Musically it sounded out of place. It lacked body, it lacked kind of substance to it. So it just kind of had a weird pacing to it. It would just pause for a couple seconds and then it would just go, and it didn't feel like it pushed along. And one of the major cons of this entire album is the drums. The drums are almost non-existent, to like when they do exist, they're so weak. Like I listened to some of their old stuff. Like obviously when they hit the 80s, they went to synth drums, and the
Yeah.
drums obviously took a major hit. And I was hoping maybe they would bring back some of the original drumming. Like you remember like the original drums that were on the album, they were fantastic.
Yeah, the original ones,
And
yeah.
I was hoping for like some kind of a middle ground, but it seems like the drums took a major hit and they continue to be very drowned out and non-existent, which kind of hurts the beats of these albums, the life of blood of the rhythm of them. They have a very synthetic feel to them. So yeah, so I mean, yeah, so starting off with those first songs, just really is not there. If this is goodbye kind of started growing on me because it was just a little catchy with some of its the vocals and stuff like that. But overall, I just wasn't happy with what they were bringing. And then someone needed me the most, kind of like the cheese, the vocals stand out in a powerful way. It kind of reminds me of a Folgers song. I don't know about you, but like the best part of the way. I almost reminded me of like I almost went to my kitchen to get some coffee. Like I don't even drink coffee, but like I
I'm
literally
gonna do that when
reminded
I
me.
get coffee tomorrow morning.
Yeah, yeah, go listen to anyone. Yeah, go listen to that and try not to think about Folgers after you're done listening to that. Yeah. So those is kind of like, and then boom, the number 10 on this album for me is Our New York Time, my favorite song of the entire album by a country
Wow.
mile. Kyle, I
Wow.
know it's your least favorite,
It's
so
not.
you don't even got to say anything.
It's not my
What?
least. It's not my least
Okay,
favorite. Don't worry.
but it's there. It's there in the group.
It's
I
up
know it
there.
is. Okay, okay, good, good. Our New York Time. I mean, I really enjoyed this song. It almost tricked my dad, who I showed it to, into thinking it was one of their original songs. It has a good environment to it while you're driving in the car. I just really like that. And then we go back into like songs I don't care about, Safer Harbors, boring, crazy idea, weird drums once again, strange change of musical direction. Make a Man Out of Me is cheese, but it's a little bit better. She's right. And then I actually really enjoyed The Mermaid. It's got a unique. I know. It's got a unique kind of can't explain it. It's like a samba or a waltz or some kind of like it's cool. Like it just has a cool vibe to it. It's unique. It's different than every song on the album, which is why I rate it higher. And then the last 4 songs are some of my favorite songs of the whole album, except House on a Hill, which was boring. Once again, the drums were actually a little stronger on this track, but the song is boring, doesn't do anything, just kind of just spins its wheel. But my second favorite song on the entire album is If This Isn't Love. Great chorus, weak drums again, once again, but best chorus on that, second best on the entire album. For the Love as well, a little repetitive in the beginning, but actually goes off into some kind of a musical instrumental journey, which I love, which Chicago does some of the best backing band sounds and instrumentals. For the Love, You've Got to Believe, those 2 songs. Got to Believe is a little weird, just doesn't develop, but it's got some catchiness to it. So drums, cons, drums are weak, inconsistent songwriting, sound on some of the songs, too long of an album. I felt like it definitely added a bunch of some fluff in there, and then some hits. That's just how I was feeling about the album. That's right, I wanted to share this hilarious line from this song. So my favorite song, Our New York Times, had a freaking line that made me crack up laughing, and the cheese of the lyrics kind of come in and like makes you laugh. And they said, "We lived on hope and we dreamed upside down. I laughed when you called me your Big Apple clown. The two of us, we vibe with life. What is this like? Are we like trying to break through to the today's youth's lingo?" Which vibe was a word they used back in the old days. So maybe Chicago feels like this is the time for them to use that in today's kind of lyrical, lyrical group, and be like, "Oh yeah, our destiny unclear. Monday nights, the Vanguard, I still whisper in your ear." It's just so dramatic, and and calling someone a Big Apple clown is just bizarre. I just wanted to read that little snippet from the cheese of Chicago, who does it the best. The best cheese a band can do comes from like their 80s stuff, and some of them.
Oh yeah, totally. I know Kyle loved this album.
Come on, Kyle.
Yeah, you can say that. So, yes, this album's way too long. For someone that's not a Chicago fan, that's not a fan of this style and the big band horns and brass sections, this was a chore to get through. I'm sorry, guys. This was like brutal to get through numerous times. So I'll start with the one song I actually did enjoy from here. And by enjoy, I mean the one song that I would go back to, which was actually Someone Needed Me the Most. It's cheesy.
I thought you were putting your pointer near Our New York Time, and I thought you were gonna mess. You were just messing with me.
It's total cheese.
Yeah.
But the vocals on this are the strongest vocals on the album. Lyrically, it's not bad. The only thing that prevents it from being higher in my books is, again, just the horns, the brass section. The brass sections on almost every song on here sound the same. It sounds like they just copied and pasted from each song. They're like, "Oh, so we did this on this song. How about you do that same ascension into the chorus, but in a different scale?" And it's like, okay.
Now, I wanted to add to that. I do also agree. This band feels like they are chasing their previous self in almost ways like you say. They use almost the same exact
almost every big band section of this was just do this ascension, but instead of the key of C, we'll be in the key of whatever in this song. And it's so many songs they would do that, and it'd just be this ascension into the chorus. I'm like,
Yeah,
Okay, that
and
was
it feels like
predictable.
they're chasing their previous self, and in a
Yes.
lot of ways, it's almost like they re-listened to some of their old stuff and were like, "All right, got to do it that way again. We can't use big band sounds in any way, but the way we used to do it, because that's our sound." It's like,
Mhm.
no, guys, like your sound is something that it evolves over time, you know. So
And
yeah,
I also just want to say that a lot of this for me was very just mid because I was trying to look at it objectively. I was trying to take my personal past feelings on their music out of this and just look at it from just my objective viewpoint, which I managed to do for the most part. So a lot of these songs I just thought were mid. I was like, if these are on in the background, they'd be inoffensive, whatever. And a lot of the songs were like that for me. Songs like Make a Man Out of Me, Safe Harbors, just things that were, if they were in the background, I just wouldn't think anything of it. Firecracker, Born for This Moment also fall into that.
Hmm.
Now, I'll get into the ones I really didn't like
Mhm.
because there's quite a few of them. But one I'm going to start with JT. I'm surprised you liked If This Is Goodbye because if you take the horns out of that song, it's just a Maroon 5 Geordie song. It has
Oh
the
my
most minimalistic modern pop instrumentation,
Yeah.
but they got around it by being like, we'll throw some horns on here. That's the only thing
Mhm.
separating it from Geordie. It's legit. Go back and listen to it compared to one of the better songs from that record. Other than the vocalist on top and some horns being thrown in, it's the same thing. There's
Mhm.
just such a
Mhm.
minimalistic beat. Also, most of these songs, I'm just going to use this as a general statement. The guitar is so buried on so many
Yeah.
of these tracks
yeah.
that occasionally you'll hear a lead guitar part and it'll actually be really good. And it's like, wow, that should be the forefront. That should be what you're doing more of here, but they don't do it. So
Mm.
honestly, with that said, I don't know the inner workings and why their previous guitarist left, but maybe it had to do with the direction here of burying the guitar in the mix every time you want to have a song.
Mm.
Now,
Possible.
Mike, I'm gonna counteract you here on our New York time. I actually will say I think the jazzy instrumentation actually works the best on that song out of any of them. Hands down, that's the one song it didn't bother me on. But the phrase New York time gets beaten to death so much within the first minute of that song that it drove
Yeah.
me nuts. It drove me actually nuts because I was like, who wrote these lyrics and thought, we'll use the same phrase this many times? But I
Yeah,
also
definitely.
agree, crazy idea. It's boring in a really bad way.
Yeah.
Mermaid, I agree with JT. It's one of the worst on here. Sorry, Mike. Uh, it's
Poor Mike.
insanely boring. It started to put me to sleep. But I'll get to my two least favorite by a landslide. The song She's Right, the the vocals on this record were the saving grace for me. Almost every song had vocals that were technically proficient, interesting, and worked very well. This song is not one of them. This song going for like that deep, gritty vocal style
Yeah.
didn't work. It's an annoying chorus and it's very repetitive, which is another common thread with most songs on this record. You read the title of the songs here, that's essentially the chorus, repeated
Yeah.
to death throughout the entire thing. And then I think me and Mike are also on agreement on House on the Hill.
Mm.
Awful song.
I
It
hate
is the
that.
most boring. It is the most boring song on here. It is insanely mind numbing and it was putting me to sleep.
Say it,
You
Kyle.
just ended it on If This Isn't Love, and I hate this song. It was actually one of the most mind-numbing songs I've heard all year from a actual legacy, one of the biggest bands out there.
And it's funny that you say the gritty vocals because there was a guy who passed away in the band. Kath was his last name. I think it
He shot
was it Terry?
himself in the head.
Oh, really?
Terry
Holy
Kathy shot
crap.
himself in the head by accident. He was high.
Wow.
I'm not
Yeah.
kidding.
Wow. Terry Kath, he had the gritty vocals
Yeah.
and and this is okay. Now, some people might come at me for this and go, "Oh, they're just replacing an element of the band that was there and now it's not." I get it. You're trying to, so the horns sound like this. We're going to play the horns like that. The gritty vocals were like that. Now we're going to replace somebody who's going to do the gritty vocals like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like music is not an equation. You don't have to go, oh well, I got to replace this with that. You can just kind of play. You can just get somebody in the band who's going to perform and leave it at that. You don't have to have those elements there. And I feel like what Kyle was saying is exactly like it's just like, oh, we're going for this, and because our old stuff had that, and not for the sake of just I get it, but it's just it's very formulaic and just not necessary.
I just feel like it's just an example of a legacy band just throwing whatever at the wall, seeing what sticks, and trying to become relevant again in a way, because there are certain songs, specifically If This Is Goodbye, like I mentioned, doesn't surprise me that was the single here, because it's one of the minimalistic modern pop trend. But they said, let's throw the Chicago style on it, throw some horns on it, that'll make it better, which I guess it made it more interesting. But at the end of the day, I guess I struggle to see who this record was really for, because I think there are songs on here that do hit that old school sound that older fans would enjoy, but I think there's also a lot on here that does go towards that more modern pop stylings of just being minimalistic, and I just don't think it works.
So what were your
at
top
all.
tracks, and what were your top tracks were, and your least favorite were which
My
one?
tops, Someone Needed Me the Most was really the only one that I took away from this. Other two that I guess would be close, Born for This Moment and Firecracker, I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
Other than that, everything else was just super either mid or I just really didn't like it.
Okay.
The ones I disliked the most, She's Right, House on the Hill, were by far the two weakest. Mermaid and Crazy Idea were close behind, and Our New York Time was like right behind that one. And then the rest were either just, boring and inoffensive or just kind of there.